Hi, my name's Takira Rose. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a historical interpreter, a singer, and a transgender woman. I was assigned male at birth, and now I'm about to turn 33 years old, and spent the first 32 and a half years of my life trying to fit into a gender role that was not right for me. Even though I grew up with a family that was extremely open minded and supportive in the suburbs of New York City, no one in our circles had the awareness, knowledge, or vocabulary to identify parts of my experience as trans related. I was a weird kid, and I believe that I had some negative experiences in my youth, which caused me to internalize shame and intensely negative feelings about myself. And in order to disconnect from the discomfort of those feelings, I developed some unhealthy coping mechanisms, including learning not to express myself fully and dissociating internally from my own emotional experience as much as possible. I went through a pretty rough period of depression from late elementary school through early high school, and in college discovered alcohol as a tool to break through the filters that I'd put up for myself and enable more genuine self-expression without accountability. Um, that is, writing off many of my actions and words as just being intoxicated rather than grounded in real desires or real emotions. Unfortunately, the mostly positive social lubrication aspects of that habit were also accompanied by a fair amount of irrational and damaging behaviors that manifested in episodes of binge drinking. And it wasn't until I got sober and began exploring my own experience that I developed enough self awareness and willingness to work through difficult feelings that I began to dismantle them and connect with myself. I'm so fortunate and grateful to have had a wonderful, loving network of support throughout all of these years that have kept me alive, safe, and sane, all in their own ways. And I don't know where I would be without the people in my life. And I hope that seeing me come into my own and begin to share some of my best self with the world is rewarding for everyone who has been a part of it so far. That framing of my life and gender experience is all very dire, but that's not to say that my life has been bad by any means. I recognize that I live in the world with a substantial amount of privilege and have faced far fewer struggles and barriers to acceptance than many of my peers. Since being public and vocal about my transition, I have had many people tell me how much they admire my courage, but I do not feel brave. I feel like my life until recently has been defined by running away from who I am rather than facing it head on and embracing it. Some of the people I look up to and admire the most are the ones who have lived as themselves in spite of intense social pressure and transition in the face of substantial adversity, serving as living examples of other possible ways of existing in this world. I didn't always understand or appreciate them, and certainly didn't ever think that they were showing me something that would be relevant to my own experience. But I've often thought back to and reflected on the trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming folks that I've crossed paths with, however briefly. In hindsight, I realized that they were beacons of hope and inspiration to me, not out of an intention to be that, just by virtue of openly being themselves. And I'm grateful to all of them for letting their inner light shine through. In addition to privilege, my life has also been full of joy. Theater, costumes, role-playing games, museums, art, music, and cultural festivals are just some of the hobbies that have helped me cut through my personal darkness and helped me appreciate the beauty in the world and to develop a love of the world that has really kept me going. But by far, the biggest constant in my life has been music and singing. I grew up in a family with a deep appreciation for music and was exposed to all kinds of genres at a young age, and through school choirs, found the joy of singing myself. Beyond school, I've sung barbershop harmony, sung in gala choruses, and it's led me to my current musical home, or I've come to my current musical home, which is a community chorus celebrating traditional music from regions across the globe. And that brings me to reflections on freedom. I grew up in the shadow of the Clearwater Festival, listening to Pete Seeger and other folk musicians in that tradition sing about freedom, justice, and equality. And that has helped shape my perspective on the world in a very big way, instilling in me a core belief in the dignity and worth of all people and a positive aspirational vision of what it means to be American and how the world could be if we all worked together. As I've grown and learned and come to understand the complexities of the world, it saddens me that that aspirational vision of a world where everyone's needs are met through resource sharing and mutual aid, and where people are free to choose how to live, how to love, and how to be without shame or fear of retribution, remains unrealized. I still feel that vision has value, even if all of our heroes are flawed and the stories that I grew up with were oversimplifications of the world. And I'm proud to be part of a chorus that keeps songs of freedom, hope, struggle, celebration, and love alive and ringing out into the world. I'm also grateful to all of the artists who use their talents and freedom of expression to bring new songs into the world, which have connected me to new experiences and helped me articulate my own. The challenge for those of us who find ourselves aligned with these values and visions is how to not just let them be ideals in words that we feel internally, but to develop the courage, optimism, and practical means to realize that no one else needs to grant you freedom, only yourself, and to raise your voice and help make that vision a reality. I'll end with some words of wisdom from the singer and activist Holly Near. I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Thanks for listening, and much love, y'all.